with reinforcements. Messages have been sent telling Valens to hold position. Together, the Roman forces would likely outnumber the Goths significantly. Instead, Valens attacks early. He marches his men 8 miles through the August heat, deploys into terrain he hasn't properly scouted, engages an enemy whose full strength he doesn't understand. Why? The standard explanation is hubris. Valens was arrogant, jealous of Gratian's victories, impatient. And honestly, that's probably true, to a point. But it's not the mechanism. Hubris is personality. The mechanism is institutional. Valens governs the Eastern Empire. Gratian governs the West. Both are Augusti under the Diocletian system, technically equals. But the Roman imperial structure was never fully built for equality. It needed a dominant figure capable of resolving disputes through authority. By 378, that figure no longer exists. Valens is older. He's ruled longer. But Gratian's generals have recently defeated the Alemanni in the West. And military victory in late Rome is the only real source of legitimacy left. Not the Senate, not tradition, not law, victory. The man who wins battles controls the loyalty of the army. The man who controls the army remains emperor. Valens knows this because every emperor since the 3rd century has lived under the same pressure. 25, 30 emperors in roughly 50 years. Many murdered by their own troops. Valens has already survived 14 years, which by late Roman standards is practically stability. But his position is never secure. It depends entirely on appearing capable. Waiting for Gratian would mean publicly admitting the Gothic crisis inside Valens' own territory required Western intervention. And inside the Roman power structure, that's not merely embarrassing, it's dangerous. That's the kind of signal that makes generals begin calculating alternatives. Because in Rome, weakness isn't temporary. Weakness invites replacement. The Praetorian pattern had taught emperors one lesson over and over again. The moment the army stops believing you can lead, you are already dead. An emperor without military loyalty isn't a weak ruler. He's a future corpse. So Valens marches into the valley not because he's irrational, but because the system surrounding him has eliminated safe options. He can wait and appear weak, risking usurpation, or he can attack and at least preserve the appearance of strength. That's the real pattern here. When political systems make looking strong more important than actually being strong, you get Adrianople. Every single time. The system didn't merely fail to stop a bad decision. It turned the bad decision into a rational one. Same pattern, different century. So here's what actually happens on the battlefield. Valens marches from Adrianople toward the Gothic camp, roughly 8 miles away. The heat is brutal. His men have been moving since dawn with little rest and almost no water. The Gothic wagons are arranged into a defensive circle on the elevated ground. Fritigern sends negotiators forward, mostly to buy time, because he knows his cavalry is still away foraging in the hills. Without them, the Goths probably lose a pitched engagement. Valens deploys anyway, and the Roman line is still forming when contact begins. The right wing attacks prematurely before the rest of the army is fully organized. Initially, they actually put the Gothic forces back towards their wagons. Then the cavalry returns from foraging. It comes out of the hills onto both Roman flanks almost simultaneously. A double envelopment. Essentially the same maneuver Hannibal used at Cannae centuries earlier. Rome had seen this before, but now they can't respond. The Roman formation compresses into itself, too crowded to maneuver, too surrounded to retreat effectively. Heat, exhaustion, poor deployment. Tactically, these are failures. But the reason the army cannot recover from these failures is structural. This is no longer the legionary system of Scipio Africanus. The late Roman army is thinner, more stretched, part Roman, part Federate, underpaid, unevenly equipped. It lacks the institutional depth necessary to absorb mistakes and continue functioning. Healthy militaries survive bad days. Adrianople becomes catastrophic because the Roman military machine is already operating at the absolute edge of what the border system can sustain. Valens dies somewhere in the fighting. Accounts differ. One says an arrow strikes him. Another claims he retreats into a farmhouse, later